In today's lecture, we will talk about the definition of amino acids, the structure of amino acid, and the classification of amino acid. So let's start from our first point, definition of amino acid. How will we define? You can guess the definition from the name, amino acid. Such molecules that have amino and acidic functional group, those molecules are known as amino acid. Very simple. If you see the amino functional group and the acidic functional group, which is carboxylic acid, then that molecule is actually known as amino acid. And you know about the amino acid. These are actually the building blocks of protein. And now let's move to our next point, that is the structure of amino acid. And the structure of amino acid is going to be very simple. You have a central carbon known as alpha carbon. To this central carbon there is attachment of hydrogen, alkyl, carboxylic acid and amino. This is the general structure. And the 20 amino acids that are discovered till now, they do not exist in this shape. Most of them exist actually in the ionic shape, known as zwitter ion. And this zwitter ion is actually formed by the proton shifting within the amino acid. Now here you have acidic group and amino group. So what happens? The proton from the acid shifts towards the amino. What happens next is that COO negative charge will appear here and the NH3 positive charge will appear on the amino. Now this charged structure is actually known as zwitter ion, and this is the very form, the very shape, the very structure in which our amino acids, most of our amino acids exist. Okay, so now let's move to our next point, that is the very point, classification of amino acid. And the very thing that you must remember is that the R group. In our amino acid, this specific region is constant and this R is actually the variable region. This R changes in every single amino acid. So due to which we classify amino acids in different ways. Now on the basis of structure, we classify 20 amino acids on the basis of structure, and the same 20 amino acids are classified on the basis of polarity, and the same 20 amino acids are classified on the basis of nutrition, and again the same 20 amino acids are classified on the basis of metabolic fat. Let's start from the very first one, on the basis of structure. On the basis of structure, we classify amino acids into 7. The very first one, if this R group is aliphatic side chain, means there are several carbon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen chain. This may be simple straight chain or maybe branched. Okay, and the second one is that there may be hydroxyl group. Third one, there may be sulfur functional group, and there may be a ring structure. We put those amino acids then in the aromatic, and there is amino acid group which contains the amino functional group. What? E-amino, not amino, E-amino, double bond NH. And if this functional group is seen here in the R region, then those amino acids are placed in the immuno. And the next one is acidic and basic. Acidic amino acid, the amino acids that have some extra COO negatives in this side chain, then those are known as acidic. And the basic amino acids are those which contain some NH3 positive or NH in the R group, then those are known as the basic amino acid. Very simple. Now if anywhere someone asks about the structure, that tell me whether this structure is acidic amino acid structure or basic amino acid structure. The very clue that I'm going to tell you right now is that you must keep in mind, if you see COO negative more than NH3 positive, then you must say that this specific structure is acidic amino acid structure. And if you see in that structure NH3 more than the COO negative, then you must say that that specific particular structure is of the basic. You know, NH2 is basic and COOH is acid. So if you find COO negative more in a structure of amino acid than the NH3 positive, you must say that the specific or the particular structure is of the acidic amino acid, and vice versa for the basic. Means that if there is NH3 more than the COO negative in a particular structure of amino acid, then you must say that that structure is actually the basic amino acid structure. Now let's move towards the second classification, that is the classification based on polarity. And you know polarity, positive pole, negative pole. We have non-polar and polar. Non-polar are those in which we don't see any kind of pole, any kind of positive, negative regions. So what is the very reason behind this non-polar amino acids? Very simple. This R group, if it contains CH, 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 long chains, So then what will become? This amino acid will become non-polar. And sometimes we do have long chain of the CH, but within that long chain, we sometimes see sulfur, hydroxyl or amino functional groups also. Now the very point that you must keep in mind is that if you have a long chain of hydrocarbon, and in that long chain, if you see hydroxyl NH2 or sulfur, then that particular amino acid will remain non-polar. Why? Because in the presence of long hydrocarbon chain, these sulfur hydroxyl amino will not show any kind of polarity. So that is the very reason behind the long chain of hydrocarbon. If it's attached with the central carbon, then that is the non-polar, or that amino acid will become non-polar hydrophobic, means that will not be dissolved in the water. The next one we have is polar amino acid, and we do have two types of amino acids, charged and uncharged. Now let's first understand about the charge, then we will move towards uncharged. Charged amino acids, such amino acids on which there is positive charge is known as positively charged amino acid, and such amino acids on which there is negative charge are known as negative amino acids. Very simple. This is actually the alternative form of the acidic and basic. Very simple, don't confuse yourself. If you see any kind of amino acid, in that amino acid, if you see COO negative more than the NH3, then that amino acid is acidic amino acid or negatively charged amino acid. Very simple. And if you see NH3 more than the COO negative in a particular structure of amino acid, then that particular structure of amino acid is of the basic amino acid, and that amino acid we place in the positively charged amino acid, which is a polar positively charged amino acid. Simple, clear. Positive is actually basic and negatively charged amino acids are actually the acidic. Simple, clear. Next one we have is uncharged. Now what is uncharged? Now this is just a simple form of the non-polar. How? Like here we had a long chain attached with the central carbon here in place of the R, but in case of the uncharged we will have a short chain. This is the very point, short chain. Here we were having the long chain. In uncharged we will have short chain, and in the short chain we will be having the sulfur hydroxyl NH2 attached. And if these functional groups are attached to the short chain of the hydrocarbon, then a little bit positivity and negativity, means a slight charged region will be seen thereby, and due to which we will place those amino acid apart from the nonpolar in a specific group known as uncharged amino acid. So let me clarify it a little bit more. Guess you have amino acid, this is your amino acid, and in this amino acid the R group is having a short chain of hydrocarbon, and in this short chain there you see a sulfur hydroxy, any one of these, hydroxyl NH2 or sulfur, that a particular amino acid which is having a short chain. I'm doing emphasis on this short chain and long chain. Remember, short chain. If it is short chain, then what happens? Very simple. Then these functional groups like hydroxyl, amino and sulfur, then a partial charge will appear on them. Let me clear it a little bit more with an example. A short chain of hydrocarbon having any one of the sulfur, hydroxyl or NH2. So what will happen then? When it is a short chain of the hydrocarbon, in the presence of short chain of hydrocarbon, our hydroxyl will show have slightly negative and slightly positive charge. You know, electronegativity of oxygen is more than that of the hydrogen and carbon, due to which what will happen, the oxygen will show slightly negative charge and the hydrogen will show a slightly positive charge, or there will be appearance of the slightly positive and negative charge on the slightly positive on the hydrogen, slightly negative on the oxygen in the presence of the short chain of hydrocarbon. But when it is about the long chain of hydrocarbon, in that case our hydroxyl or any of these functional group, they will not show any kind of charge. So now due to this short chain, our hydroxyl will show have slight positive, slight negative charges. And now due to this charge, we are putting these kind of amino acids in a separate group known as uncharged polar amino acid, because we see slight positive, negative poles. Now let's move towards the next classification, that is the classification based on the nutrition. We do have 20 types of amino acids. And these 20 amino acids are classified into essential and non-essential. Now what are the essential amino acids? These are the amino acids that are not present in the body, and you have to take these amino acids through diet. And the next one is non-essential amino acids. These are the amino acids that are already present in your body and you do not need to take these amino acids through diet. So that's simple, non-essential amino acids. So essential you take through diet, non-essential You don't take thread because you already have in your body. Now let's move towards the fourth type of the classification of amino acids, that is based on the metabolic fat. Now, according to this classification, we'll classify the amino acids into three. One, two, three. Glycogenic amino acids, the very first one. When amino acid on metabolism produce the glycogen or glucose, such amino acids are known as glycogenic amino acid. The next one we have is ketogenic amino acid. Now, when amino acid, they undergo the process of metabolism and they produce fat as a product, then those amino acids are known as ketogenic amino acid. And the third one we have is that which is both the ketogenic and glycogenic amino acids. Now these amino acids, when they undergo the process of metabolism, they will produce both the glycogen and the fat. So such kind of amino acids are placed in the third group, that is both the ketogenic and glycogenic amino acids. So that's the classification based on metabolic fat. So now the very point that you people must keep in mind is that after this lecture, you must practice the amino acid structures. Then it will be very easy for you to memorize the structures and to answer the questions asked by your examiner during the viva, or if anyone anywhere asks you any kind of question, you'll be able to answer the question on the spot within a while. So that's a little bit from my side about the amino acid classification, structure and definition. Hope so you got, and if still you have any kind of question, you can drop that in the comment box. We'll come for the answers very soon. Thank you.